Uh, Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to HT's Summit, the Innovation Speak series. This is part of HT's almost two-year-old initiative in inspiring as well as drawing upon examples of innovative practices as well as leadership that can be incorporated into HT's overall leadership program. Previously, we've had Professor Anil Gupta who's the director of the National Innovation Foundation, where he shared valuable insights about promoting grassroots innovation across several villages as well as districts in India. Today, it's my proud pleasure and privilege to introduce Dr. Sudarshan Maini, who is the founder of the Maini Group of Industries. Now, Reva is the brand name that is most associated with the Maini Group of Industries. But when I just shared a few moments with him over breakfast this morning, it's amazing about given the number of anecdotes that he shares from the origins of his family in Ludhiana, how he got into mechanical engineering, solar cars, and he's got a lot of stuff to share with us today, and which we hope can be used as part of HT's larger innovative strategy programs. So how we're going to structure this is we're going to start with our approximately 10-minute introduction to the Maini Group of Industries as well as personal biography of Dr. Sudarshan Maini. Then Mr. Maini will take floor for about an hour, where he'll talk about Reva, how the Reva was created, as well as the innovative practices that was incorporated into the overall functioning of the company. And this will be followed by a roughly half an hour question answer session. So I would like to call upon Dr. Maini, and please take stage.
Good morning, everyone. I got a little background that you've been fed so much about innovation that I said with professors and everybody else that I'll not talk about innovation, I'll talk about my life. And you find out what is innovative in it. Because as far as I am concerned, I think my bloodstream is innovation. So I will just tell you my story, and then you are welcome to ask me questions. Yes. It's an introduction of 14 minutes. It gives you some ideas about what I have been doing, so that when I tell you instances out of it, you can relate little better.
Sudarshan Maini today heads a 2 billion rupee group, which is in the forefront of engineering manufacturing industries, providing gainful employment to over 1,500 people. Born in Rangoon in an established timber mills and rice trading business family in Upper Burma, the family migrated to Ludhiana in Punjab, India in 1941 during the war. He did his schooling at Government College, Ludhiana. A university scholarship holder throughout, he stood first at Banaras Hindu University in mechanical engineering. He also won the coveted Loughborough Burma Shell Scholarship for advanced educational training in UK in 1954. A concerned Indian citizen, he was president of the Loughborough Indian Association. His inventive enterprise culminated in an Indian handicrafts exhibition that raised £100, a princely sum in those days. Maini promptly donated it to the Indian Flood Relief Fund. He even stood first at Loughborough. From 1958 to 1973, Maini honed his skills as an engineer, with Guest Keen Williams as production administrator, with Precision Fasteners Limited as General Works Manager, and with Michael Bosch as General Production Manager. Since then, he has been associated with various reputed production engineering fraternities, holding lectures and seminars in India and abroad. The ability to see beyond the horizon has always been Maini's uncanny asset. In 1973, he founded Maini Precision Products, MPP, manufactures and supplies components and assemblies to Eaton, General Motors, Bosch, Volvo, Honeywell, and Renault, among other reputed international companies. In 1986, Maini Materials Movement was the first company in India to manufacture battery-operated in-plant handling equipment. Reliability and safety, handling and storage of materials in the transport have been the watchwords of MMM. In 2001, Maini Group again was the first company to manufacture an electric car in India called Reva. Over 500 Revas are currently running in London, known as G-Wiz. The revolutionary fuel cell Reva was unveiled on Technology Day by the President of India, APJ Abdul Kalam.
Today, I am very proud that my husband, who has worked so hard to bring all these companies under the Maini flagship, is getting a doctorate from the Loughborough University, the first Indian to get one. I wish him all the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you all for coming, no doubt many of you from far and wide, to this very special occasion, which I hope you will enjoy immensely. With those brief words, I declare this congregation in session for the conferment of awards.
Chancellor, Pro-Chancellors, Loughborough students, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this degree ceremony. I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to those of you who are joining us via our webcast, both here in the UK and overseas. Wherever you're watching, whether it's London, China, Australia, we hope that you will feel fully a part of the ceremony. I'm also pleased to welcome our honorary graduates today. Sudarshan Maini, chairman of the Maini Group in Bangalore, who's a former student of Loughborough, a leading figure in engineering, and is playing a major part in India's development. And Professor Alan Wickens, visiting industrial professor in the Wolfson School of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering. We're very pleased to be honouring your work and proud that you are joining our network of honorary graduates all over the world.
Sudarshan Maini was born into a business family from the Punjab. At the time of his birth, the family were in Burma, where his father established the timber mills and rice trading business, and the family returned to the Punjab in 1941. He went to Banaras Hindu University, where he achieved a first-class degree in mechanical engineering. In 1954, he won the Loughborough Burma Shell Scholarship and came to Loughborough College, later to become Loughborough University, graduating with a first-class DLC, stands for Diploma of Loughborough College, which was a respected four-year degree in those days, also in mechanical engineering. His education at Loughborough included practical training at Loughborough College workshops. On leaving Loughborough, he studied industrial administration in the UK while taking graduate training with GKN in Birmingham, and later spent 5 months with Bosch studying their technology, training schemes, and management practices before joining Bosch in India. From 1967 to 1973, he was General Production Manager for Miko Bosch in Bangalore, India, an Indo-German venture manufacturing fuel injection equipment for diesel engines with over 7,000 employees. Under his leadership, production doubled in 4 years. 1973 saw the founding of the Maini Industrial Consultants and Maini Precision Products companies. Maini Precision Products, a company to manufacture high-precision automotive components in India. From the humble beginning of 10 people making one component for Miko Bosch, this evolved under Sudarshan Maini's leadership into a multiple product, multiple unit engineering conglomerate, which is a preferred partner of Fortune 500 companies like General Motors today. And he told me last night that the group turns over £23 million a year. The Maini Group today includes companies like Maini Materials Movement, established in 1986, which manufactures a range of products such as electric golf carts, airport vehicles with up to 8 seats, and forklift trucks, with Maini Granites another sizable activity. Maini Precision Products makes components for the automotive industry and will shortly also be supplying the aeronautical industry. Thus, Sudarshan Maini is a leading figure in the industrial development of India. In 2001, the Maini Group launched the Riva electric car, spelled R-E-V-A, named after Sudarshan Maini's wife, who's actually here today, whom he married in 1965. The electric car supports a personal philosophy of trying to create zero-pollution city mobility, a major issue for cities all over the world today. The Riva car was launched in London in 2003. You may have seen it on television at that time and more recently. In the UK, it sells under the name of G-Whiz. As a zero-emission vehicle, it is exempt from London congestion charges, as well as getting free parking and exemption from UK road tax, and costs less than a penny a mile to run in fuel costs. Looking to the future, a fuel cell car is under development. Loughborough has recently announced its intention to become a green university with better recycling, low energy consumption, and the Loughborough Hydrogen Project. We have many research strengths in alternative energy and sustainability issues, so we are especially pleased that one of our alumni has shown such leadership in this field. Chancellor, for his outstanding service to industry and to India, I have the honour to present to you and to the whole university Mr. Sudarshan Maini for the degree of Doctor of Technology, honoris causa.
Mr. Maini, it gives me enormous pleasure in admitting you to the degree of Doctor of Technology honoris causa under the powers vested in me as Chancellor of this university. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Dr. Maini?
Yes.
So now we're going to begin with his presentation, where he's going to talk about REVA and about the innovation culture that he's incorporated at his group of industries over the past so many years.
This last bit of this probably is missing. I was asked to advise at that time the Chancellor to the students, and I said, look, they are all eager to go home, so it's the wrong time to give any advice to them. But he insisted, he said, it's a tradition, Mr. Maini, you must say something. So I went on the dais and said, well, I will only say one word. I said, you learned education here and you have a lot of knowledge. If you are able to convert this knowledge into wisdom, then you would have done a great job. So that was the one word advice which I gave them. It was appreciated. Now you've seen me blow my trumpet, and let me tell you some of the instances that I have gone through in life. When you are on a fast track, you are bound to have conflicts, opposition, problems. This is the nature. And if you're not innovative enough, you generally tend to lose the track. So one of the main things you need to be innovative is to maintain on a track in case you are on a fast track. And I'll give you some examples from my life. As a student in Banaras, you know, we used to have problems because cycling all the way, we used to get punctures. So I thought of that, why can't I have a cycle where if there is a puncture, I can still move it around. So I devised a pump in my second year engineering, attached it to the cycle, and so whenever there was a leakage, the pump will pump the air and it didn't have to get down the cycle. So there was the only cycle there. In fact, Mr. Birla came and saw that cycle and gave me an offer at that time. I used that cycle in third year and fourth year, and it worked perfectly well. So innovation comes through a problem you have. When I was in my second year engineering, I lost my eldest brother who was supporting me financially. So third year and fourth year, I had a problem. No money to continue the engineering college. So 2 or 3 of my friends only knew about it, and I continued. So I was a mechanical engineer, so I worked out, okay, how many scholarships I can have. So there was a scholarship for electrical engineering. So in third year, I stood first in electrical engineering subject. We had to take as a mechanical engineer also, primarily to get the scholarship, because my subject was actually mechanical engineering. Fourth year and third year, I didn't buy any books. In fact, I didn't have any warm clothes in the winter of Banaras. Now the problem with books was that they were available from friends, but not during examination days. So I thought, okay, how to overcome this problem? So I drafted out questions which are likely to come in each one of the exams. If there are in one subject 7 questions, I would say 50 questions. And I'll make my notes based on each, as if I am answering each question. So I'll study those notes in the final year when no books were available. It helped me actually to revise better because I was doing much less work in a more concentrated manner. It was fortunate that I stood both in third year and fourth year first also, but this helped me to revise better. And later on I told people, I gave my notes to various people. Now, in 54, there used to be only 2 scholarships for going abroad, given by Burma Shell. £600 per year for 4 years. £600 is a lot of money, especially if I tell you that an engineering graduate, a British engineering graduate in England, earned during those days £450 in a year. It was more than the British graduates earning. So it was very prestigious and everybody wanted to get that scholarship. 13th of July 1954, 13 of us were selected. All 13 were first class first, different universities, either 2 years earlier or same year. So each one of them was very good debater, very good sportsman. So when you looked at the biodata, you didn't know who will get it. 10 o'clock, interview started. And 5 o'clock, they decided 5 of us shortlisted out of 13. I was one of the 5 shortlisted. Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar was the chairman, and I remember they called all of us inside together and they started asking questions. One of the questions they asked was, why do you want to go to England? So when my turn came, I said, sir, the founder of my university, Mahamana Malviya, in 1935 said, if India has to survive, engineers must export. I don't know how to export, so I want to export myself, learn how to export, come back and export. We all came out. All the other 4 told me, we don't know who else is going, but we know you are going. I said, yes, I also feel that. And of course, the secretary came and asked for my name. Mr. Maini, yes, sir. Said, you are selected, fine. But this was the innovative answer which made me earn the scholarship. I came back to India in 1958. I joined a company called Gaskin Williams in Calcutta. Calcutta during those days and India during those days was very different. In 1947, I'll give you a background. When we became independent, the British thought that Indians will take over, so they started selling their companies, they started moving out of India. After 2 years, they worked out and found out that Indians are going the same way, so they're not bothered. So they stopped all that Indianization and all the Britishers started coming back again. And in fact, they came with a vengeance. 55, 56, 3 of the Britishers in Jessop's, in Byrne and Company and Gaskin were put into the furnaces for their atrocities even in that time. That is the time when the British again decided that now we need to Indianize. So I am just giving you a background of that time. I mean, there was still a swimming club in Calcutta where the notice was written, Indians and dogs are not allowed, and it used to be there. In fact, I was one of the 2 people, along with the Britisher, who in one night took it out and threw it away. But this is the kind of Angreziyat we were used to. Now, in 58, I was the first Indian covenanted officer to be hired in Gaskin Williams in the factory. And there were a lot of youngsters who had joined ICI, Grindlays Bank, all Indians. They were now there. During those days, covenanted officer meant, in the olden days, it was only Britishers, and they used to be paid very high, and only the board could get rid of them. For example, an Indian graduate got 200 rupees maximum, and a covenanted officer got first year 1000 rupees, second year 1400 rupees, kind of a salary. So there was a big gap. So I took over a position in Gaskins, and I was working as an assistant manager. And I had a Britisher who was my boss. He hated my guts. So the production increased in 9 months by 100%. So he wanted to see what can be done. So when I went on leave, the worst union leaders were transferred to my department. I came back and all the colleagues said, Mr. Richardson has given you a good reward. You got the Kanta Prasad Singh in your factory. I said, fine. I called Kanta Prasad Singh to my office. I said, बैठिए आप बैठिए. He sat down. He said, साहब आज तक किसी ने मेरे से तमीज़ से बात नहीं की है. आप पहले ऑफिसर हैं जिन्होंने मेरे को बैठने को कहा है और आप कहा है. कि हम आपसे क्या कहें, आप हमारे चचा की उम्र की हैं तो हम आपसे कैसे बात करें. तो आपको जो चाहिए प्रोडक्शन होगी. Production further increased. Now this was the simple thing, and he continued to be my friend till he died for next 20 years. I am saying the way the treatment was being done. I'll give you one more instance before I go further. I used to see every file because I wanted to learn. So in April, May, one chap asked for leave. So I called for the file. Every year, in end of April, beginning of May, there is a telegram, father died, please give me leave for 5 days. And the leave is sanctioned. So I asked him, I said, how many fathers you have? बहुत गुस्सा आया उसको. साहब क्या बात करते हैं कि भाई इस फाइल में लिखा हुआ है कि 5 बार तुम्हारा बाप मर गया. घोष बाबू को मैं मार डालूंगा. घोष बाबू कौन है? हमारे पर्सनल ऑफिसर हैं. साहब 200 रुपये लेते हैं साहब मेरे को छुट्टी देने का. He sent the telegram, and now previous fellow was a British and didn't know about it. I said, देखो ये ऐसे एप्लीकेशन है तो गलत बात है. Took up the matter. Then I discovered that all Bihari labor has to go to their homeland in May, June, because otherwise they will not get part of the harvest. So there used to be on the average 8 to 10 weeks, all Bihari labor used to go away. So I went and studied the whole thing in Byrne and Company, Jessup, Braithwaite's, and very similar trend. Then I discussed with all the Bihari labor. I said, देखो, you go, how many weeks you need to go? So they all agreed that we need to go 5 to 6 weeks. I said, okay, you go 1 or 2 weeks like separately. And I worked out a scheduled program for them so that they can go for 6 weeks official leave. And the absenteeism came down to 12% from 24%. In fact, I wrote a article on absenteeism in Calcutta because I studied the whole thing, and I used to call it the summer hump. And during puja days, 45% absenteeism, that is used to be called the puja bulge kind of thing. But this is the way things happened. Then I joined a company, Indo-American venture, as General Works Manager. I was in America. This is in 65. 65, the Newsweek and Times used to write about the worst things you can think of about India. India is a country of beggars, India this, India that. Nothing right written about India. Mr. Hallowell The company was 300th privately owned company in the fortune figures. Invited me into his house, very nice person. His wife Margaret said, "Do I read this article, is it right about India?" I said yes. Next time, the second article came in Newsweek. "Is this right?" I said yes. But before I leave, I will give you an answer for this. So I bought a camera. Jenkintown was half an hour drive from Philadelphia. So I used to go to Philadelphia over the weekend. I'll take the photographs of the worst ghettos, broken, fighting, people crossing when there is written "don't cross." All the worst things I could possibly take. In the 6 weeks I went on the weekends, I took them. I collected about 100 photographs. I serially ordered in the worst ones first. Last dinner when I went there, I said, "It has been nice to be in your country and I am taking some photographs with me to show it to my family." So I handed over these photographs to Mrs. Hallowell. She looked at 1, 2, 3, 4 and she threw the photographs. "That's not America." Well, I said, "I have bought an American camera. I have been in America. I am not a good photographer, but I have taken photographs. Is there anything wrong in it?" I said, "But you know, Mr. Maini, this is not America." I said, "Oh." But I said, "These are American photographs." "Yes." I said, "Look, I'm an engineer, I'm not a photographer. I had no commitment to write an article of any sort. If I can damage in 5 weekends by taking a few photographs the richest country in the world through photographs so much, can you imagine the journalists who are experienced in writing with all the money at their command, what they can do to a poor country like India?" Just as, although this is America, but this doesn't represent America. Those articles are true, like these photographs, but they don't represent India. If I had told you at that time, you wouldn't have believed me. So I had to think of a way how to communicate effectively. She was very happy and she traveled along. We started the company in Thana, and I discussed with the managing director. I said, "Look, we can, the Americans want us to finish it in 9 months, but I think we can finish it even earlier if we want." I said, "Mr. Maini, it will be a great idea because this 9 months already is a very tight budget." So I said, "Fine." All the senior people, 2, 3 were married, rest were not. I bought a shed next door, put everybody in there, put music system there. I told them, "You go on 24 hours a day because you don't have your wives here, and you show them what we can do. And free food, music system is here. Whenever you feel like working, you work. And let's see if we can finish it in 6 months." We finished in 7 months. 5 Americans we had, when they saw all the Indians are working 12 hours, 14 hours, they also started working 12 hours, 14 hours. Instead of 5 days, they started working 6 days. So they were very surprised when we finished in the 7 months. And I said, "Now we have to give them, because they have saved us 2 months, so profit will start 2 months earlier. We should give them an installation bonus." The chairman of the company disagreed. "We haven't made any money, so from where we will pay?" He said, "No, but it has been agreed to, and I was an authorized signatory before they could do anything else. Whatever was decided earlier on with the managing director, I paid the installation bonus and resigned from the company." But the Americans sent a very nice letter that we didn't expect you to finish in 1 year. So we are surprised the Indians have finished in 7 months. When I was in MICO, that was my next job. You know, but Germans are very systematic, everything, 1, 2, 3. I always say about Germans that they run through systems and they say you can send a donkey to head the still it will work. It doesn't depend on people. They are wrong to a certain extent, but right to a certain extent. We had a lot of problems and we had to double the production. So I used to have a monthly meeting, and the size of the number of people who attended the meeting is about this hall, 60, 70, who are all superintendents from various departments. So I told them, I said, please state here, each one of you, what you are expecting to be your biggest problem next month. And everybody else should note it down. My secretary should also note it down. But nobody will give solutions here, only problems. Now you think of the solutions. If you can help any one of them, people, either in an official capacity or in an unofficial capacity, because you have an idea, please go to him and help him. So we used to write down, and that meeting used to last exactly 1.5 hours. Because everybody spoke for 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, and only spoke about their problems previously. That meeting became a very great success. The number of innovations which came out of those meetings, the tremendous amount of communication which started taking place, people going to each other saying, oh, you have this problem, I have a solution, kind of a thing, immense. But we never discussed solutions, we only discussed problems. In MICO, we used to do very well, and instead of paying 20% bonus, they used to pay 30% bonus. And 30% bonus on overtime and other things used to be hell of a lot of money during those days. So a lot of people came to me and talked to me. I was the first Indian to take over from a German this factory. Said, sir, all the people are standing outside and the bonus is distributed. Some will borrow money from the MICO people, some will take them to the races, some for drinking, and all the money gets wasted. Doesn't reach the homes. This is a common feature happening every year. Everybody knows in Bangalore that MICO bonus days are like this. So next year, 5 days before the bonus, I called all the superintendents and managers. I said, look, I have worked out a plan how to help them out. So I wrote out a speech. I said, translate it in Kannada, and very sentimental speech. Started off by saying that it's my saddest day in my year this year. Because today, all of you who are like my family, who have worked very hard, who have worked overtime, who have left families and worked, are going to get fruits in terms of bonus, and this is going to be snatched away from you before you go out. It's not reach your family, it's not reach your children. And this is the saddest day in my life. And this was conveyed to everybody. Next month, I got at least 50 letters, and 7 ladies came to my office to thank me. And the tradition was changed. Later on, we of course made it 20% by increasing the salaries 10%. But this, now I am trying to say that there is always a solution if there is a problem. One has to think of it, that what is possible. And first time you will not always get the solution right. So it could be second, third or fourth time. But there is always a solution to a problem. I had 15 years of experience by now. I was 40 years of age. And Myco was not going to make Indian a managing director. So I didn't think I had any job to do if I continued with Myco. And I didn't want to waste my life drinking away and playing golf all the time. So I said, what should I do? Now, right from the time I passed my engineering till now, I developed a very good rapport with an Indian worker. I felt the guy was very good. He was not getting the right kind of opportunity. He was not getting the right kind of training. He was not being handled properly. If he is handled properly, he can do wonders. And I was very convinced with this while I was working in Howrah, working in Thana, and working in Myco. I had seen some of the workers done excellent work and they were handled correctly. I said, India has such a bad name. 73 I am talking now today. Why don't I start a small setup where I try to use the Indian worker to create the best things in the world in whatever we do, so that it may be small, but it will be a satisfaction for me. On this basis, I started the Maini Precision. I was the highest paid Indian in the whole of South India at that time. My youngest son was 3 years old. My oldest was 7. I started with 30,000 rupees which were lying with me in the Provident Fund. And all my friends said that you are the daftest person under the sun to leave the company this time and start on your own. I said, fine. I said, no, I think what I am going to do is going to give me happiness. So I am going to do it. I was very confident of it. First 10 workers I took were all non-matriculates, because I felt there are people in India who are very clever. They don't get the chance to be educated because they can't afford it. I had gone through myself similar problems. I said, why don't I pick up people for the skills they have, irrespective of their qualifications at the worker level? Why I have to take a matriculation? And anyway, if I take matriculates, they will learn and go because they will get a job elsewhere. But non-matriculates, people don't rehire. So I took non-matriculates, I trained them up, and believe you me, in 6 months' time, the girls who were checking, they were 300% faster than the equivalent girls in Myco. And some of them are still working with me as grandmothers. So the experiment was highly successful. Only what we did was, we were very meticulous in giving the training. For the exact job, it is surprising if you decide to give training to people, you start realizing you don't know really what you want to train up with. Because as soon as you say, okay, let's train up for a particular thing, let's say measuring a diameter, you say, okay, you go into steps of it and you realize sometimes the instruments you don't have fully, sometimes something else. So when you start writing down the whole details, you realize that how incomplete the whole thing is. Therefore, if you give an order to somebody and say, oh, अच्छा भाई train कर देना, हाँ साहब कर देंगे. So you go on the periphery, you don't hit the bullseye. And I have seen subsequently as a consultant, I've gone through training manuals and I have not found a single training manual which was prepared where there were not so many defects. It was not able to train up the person or it was supposed to train up. First of all, half of them were not clear in what they are going to train up with. So we started looking into defining everything correctly. If you define what are you going to train for, what is he capable of doing it after the training is over, then you will be surprised how many steps you may have to add yourself into the program which you have done. This is something which I learnt after I started on my own, because at that time the result was seen because it was a small company and you knew exactly what you have done and what the results are coming. I had at that time decided that I will not sell my components in India. I will sell to the best companies in Europe. So I made a plan that since I have good connections with Bosch, and Bosch was very well known in Europe, so Bosch was my first customer. Then it was easy for me to go to a small company in Europe and say I am a supplier to Bosch. They won't believe. So you have to give a telephone number of the purchaser, he'll give a ring and say, fine, okay, we agree. Now, a single man with a small organization, they will give a list of components and say that you estimate and let us know the price. I had no time. So I told them, I have worked out your average cost in America and Europe. Whatever is your cost, landed cost today, I will give you 20% cheaper. That's my price. Now you give me your cost and reduce 20% and tell me you will pay me so much, and this is okay with me. If you are telling the truth, then we will be supplying to you. If you are telling a lie, giving me wrong advice, I'll supply, make some loss and stop supplying to you. It worked wonders. I had a number of people and very good agents, and I didn't have to work. Otherwise, how to find out at what price they buy? As a stranger, you go first time. You can't go twice to Sweden or Denmark. So this concept worked very well, that I am a supplier to Bosch and I'll give you 20% less than whatever is your landed cost. And based on that, I built a fairly good business. We are one of the largest supplier of precision components today from the country to the automotive industry in the world. In fact, 5 years ago, when we were inaugurating our new place, I told my son, I said, you invite everybody in January because everybody wants to come from Europe and America in January here. So they have holidays and the weather is good and it's snowing there and the rest of it. You know, we didn't realize that more or less 90% accepted our invitation. So we had 50 people coming from Europe and America, all vice president, president level people and big companies like General Motors, Volvo, Renault, Eaton, Honeywell. So we didn't know who, Rolls Royce, we didn't know who. So he had a problem. He came to me, he said, now whom shall we put on the dais? Because I said, put your biggest customer on the dais. Finished with it. But we counted up, that day in one room, we had people whose turnover was $950 billion together in Bangalore in one room. In the group, we had a concept. Concept was pick up the best technology from Europe or America. Don't invent the wheel again. Have a very good R&D setup within the company, within the group, learn everything from them and go further ahead. In fact, all our companies had R&D departments and still have, which are recognized by the DST Director of Science and Technology. When we started making the handling equipment, 5 years later, we developed equipments better than our collaborators in Denmark. When he came to visit us and he saw the new pieces which our departments had done it, he told me, he said, Sudarshan, this is a much better thing than we have done. Why don't you give us the technology? I said, why do you need technology? Your number of pieces are very small. We'll sell you the whole equipment. And we started exporting back our design to our collaborator in Denmark within 5 years of having taken collaboration from them. Very few people think in this manner in India, and I think this is what we should think, in my opinion, because we have excellent engineers here. Given the opportunity, they can do wonders. Quality has been always our hallmark, but customer service has been also a very important aspect, in fact the most important aspect. When we were supplying these handling equipments, we found out that each company may buy 1 or 2 in one area because you don't need more. So in case that equipment does not work or is broken down, then the efficiency of that area becomes practically nil. So that gave me an idea how to improve the uptime of these equipments. We had maybe 35 or 36 of them in Maruti at that time running. I went to Maruti at that time. This must be 15, 20 years ago. I told them, I said, look, I have an idea if you would like to try out. Give us 2 cupboards. We will put our spare parts at our cost here. I'll place a man at my cost in your factory. All he will do is, whenever any one of your equipments is broken, he will go and immediately rectify it. If it is likely to break, he will replace it in the night. He will do everything to keep your equipments up, help your maintenance department. And once in a month, we will give you a bill only for the whatever spare parts we have used. You have a right to cut out some of them if they are under warranty. Whatever you approve, we will accept it without any discussions with you. Fine. It worked wonders for 3 months. They came back to us, Mr. Maini, give us 5 people, not 1. And we will only be buying from you. That scheme we called Complete Customer Care, CCC. You know, today it's running with almost all the large companies. When Ford started the plant in Chennai, we had the same stuff with them. We had 6 people working. Ford has a setup, Ford has a setup that their all machinery and plant is maintained universally all over the world by one company. They made one exception in India, that handling equipment will be maintained by us. So the company which maintains objected to it. So the managing director told them back, Maini gives us a guarantee of 98% uptime and is average giving us an uptime of 99.5%. If you give us the same, we'll give you the contract. We still have the contract. If genuinely you look after customer and find ways and means of doing it, how to do it better, You never lose your customer. Our first logo was Karma Parama Dharma, work is worshipped. We changed it over to where reliability replaces probability, because everybody in Europe didn't understand what is Karma Parama Dharma. So I had to explain work is worship and everything else. So I said, okay, and because this was a point of conversation, so reliability replaces probability became the point of conversation. Then I found out, can we have the first slide? I found out that in India, people think a little differently. An Indian is, as a worker, is far more intelligent than a European on the average. If you tell a European worker, yes, please leave it here. If you tell a European worker that please do this, he will do that, he won't question you. But if you tell an Indian worker, do something, he will ask you why and create a problem. So if you have a budget of, let's say, 5% scrap, he'll accept it. When you make it 4%, he doesn't accept it. He says, अभी 4% करेगा तो कल को साहब 3% बोलेगा, 3% करेगा तो 2% बोलेगा, 2% बोलेगा तो 1% करेगा. So he is stuck in 5%, he will not change it. This is the mindset of Indian. But a European mindset is, he will accept 5 when you say 5, 4 when you say 4, he will accept 3 when you say 3. So I said, okay, let's start in India with a 0, then we don't have to change. So from there I said, our target is 0. 0 defects, 0 rejections. And I found out it started working very well. We came to point 1 and they wanted to make 0. They'll take those mandrels and throw them in the latrines to make it 0. And I'll go there in the latrines and pick up 2 mandrels and say, no, don't do this. Show me 2. No, sir, we want to make it 0. Well, make it 0 genuinely. So the 0 defect worked wonderfully well in our group. And we slowly developed out of the 0 defect, 0 philosophy, which I have written here. We slowly added some of the 0 differentiation, 0 conflict, 0 greed, 0 ego, 0 time delay, 0 excuses, 0 complaints. And we achieve this through 0 wastage, 0 compromise, 0 inefficiency. All this adds up to all the philosophies you have anywhere else put together, whether you get Zycan or anything. So we work on 0 philosophy, that whatever is wrong, don't make a budget for 4%, 3%. Start off in India with 0%. Because this is the ultimate. You will never achieve 0, but at least you will try to achieve it, and you will be always trying. Next slide, please. Next slide. As I was telling you, we had recently discussions within the group for 6 months, continuously every 2 months, that what should we now have our tagline. We felt that our innovativeness is always working for the sake of customers. Because we are looking after our customer, we want to be the first choice of our customer, whoever is our customer. What do we do? How can we deliver? So we came ultimately, we must deliver not only product, but value always. Next slide. You see, this innovation can be adding value to the business of our customer through better design, better price, quicker delivery, holistic approach, simpler savings. Peace of mind means no maintenance for the jobs. Next, please. So the key differentiator we have discovered is the innovativeness of our group. Innovativeness is in part of our blood. And I think this is one of the things you need in a group, is to create an atmosphere to talk about it all the time. You're always thinking how to do it better. First thing in the morning, where you left yesterday and how you start thinking. So the conversation goes around always on those topics. If you go in the factories, few topics are always hot because they are problems which are being circulated, kind of a thing. And lot of solutions have come out of it. We find it very effective. Next. No, bus. Gentlemen, now we are coming to what we were going to start with. Reva. I'll give you a brief description of the Reva car factory. What was the major incentive to start Reva project? It was my desire that we in India should be ahead in technology, at least in one technology. We've always followed. India has never been ahead. Mr. Vittal used to be in 95 the electronics secretary, and we had a meeting here, big meeting, 250 people, and he made a bold statement followed with a half an hour lecture why India should go ahead with electric vehicles, because that's the only area where we can be ahead of others today, because we can integrate electronics with automotive technology better than anybody else, and at a smaller scale, which is likely to benefit. And I agreed with him already. I had made up my mind that yes, this is the technology. I talked to my 3 sons. I said, if you do this, we make this car, you're not going to make money for the next 20-25 years. We don't even have 10% of the resources which are required for making this. But Chetan, my youngest son, who had learnt a lot on it, he has the guts, and if we can all support him, he will be successful. I am very certain of it. And this was not the first product. We were already done very well in our component business. We done very well in our handling business, and both of them were path-breaking businesses. So there was a certain degree of confidence in the organization and the group available, and we said, yes, we'll go ahead. I was telling Rajiv, I was 65, 64 when we started this project really, and which is the time people normally want to retire. And I was again called quite foolish by people including Rahul Bajaj. He says, what a foolish idea to start a business, knowing very well that you're not going to. I said, no, the happiness I will achieve once we are ahead of others in this project is more than all the money you will ever make. And I must tell you today, next slide please. The largest fleet of electric cars worldwide, 120 million customers drive kilometers, 24 countries. London has more Reva cars than all the other electric car brands put together. We have 1100 of them. We have 1200 in Bangalore. And next slide gives you an idea. Now there were a lot of challenges. I'll give you some ideas. To build a team was a very difficult thing to do because nobody knew about electric vehicles. People did not know about automotive area and electronics together. Those who knew electronics did not know automotive. And they always sat with the computers, kind of a thing. They had different wavelengths. Those who were mechanics, they hadn't a clue about electronics. So to mate them together, even to put them together was a very difficult task. Today there are people available, but I am telling you 10 years, 12 years ago when we started off, it was very difficult to get people to appreciate one thing or the other. I took a chap from Switzerland who had a Guinness record for running maximum number of kilometers without charging. I happen to know him because he used to work in an Institute of Science as a technical collaborator, and he worked with us for 3 years. I took another chap, still working with us. He was for 10 years racing champion in India. So I took some innovators of this type, sent them to America at that time in the beginning. But to build a team, we took our best people from the group, transferred them to Reva. Because I said, we must have the best. But it was very tough. It is even today very tough. It's an area, any new area you pick up, where the technologies are intermingling, and today more of them are intermingling. Later on you will see the kind of technologies we are already working on. I mean, it's fantastic. And it's very difficult to get these people. So we are thinking of always whether we should work out a school for electric vehicles, tie up with somebody so that we can be ahead of others. Now there were a lot of technology challenges. Can you go to the next slide, please? The technology challenges had to be integrated. First of all, the car has to run, and it was depending on a battery. Now, battery technologies were limited at that time. They are still limited today, but they are much better than they were before. So the weight of the battery was so high that the weight of the rest of the car had to be very low. So Chetan took a trip all over the world, went to every factory which had ever made electric cars or worked on it and see what they were doing. Then came back and started deciding. So we said, okay, from safety it is very important because the car is very small. So space frame, which you see on the right hand side, little technology I have tried to make it as small as possible. It makes it safe. When you hit another car, it cocoons you, If you are in the frame, so you are not hurt because of this frame. So this is a very... Now energy management system was our patent, still is. This is taking the juice out of the battery in a most efficient manner. Because as I mentioned to you, battery has been the main thing. So your power is restricted, so you must be able to use it. So battery management system makes it most efficient use. And one of the most efficient uses is when you brake, it regenerates. The motor becomes a dynamo. I hope you understand, all of you, what is a dynamo. It's opposite of a motor. It generates electricity, it's a generator. So what happens is, it's like when you are going in, the car is going in the front and you start pushing from the front to brake it, the push comes from the dynamo, and that electricity is generated because of the power. It's like when you're going downhill, you can charge the battery. So this was also a patented system. Then we had, instead of air conditioning initially, thermo-controlled seats. These were new seats which have become now very popular in the higher end cars in America. This is a technology where you use 1/10 the power to make the seat instantly heat or cold, depending upon which way you switch it on. And this was another new technology at that time. Next. This was the major technology which we had. Basically, what it meant was that we knew what the car is doing at any time, because there was a computer in the car which was noting down at what temperature, when it is going, what is doing, etc., etc. How you are driving also, how much fuel is left in battery. And this was another technology which was, with this technology we were able to, for example, send instructions to London through the email by getting the data from them. What is wrong with that car there and how can you rectify? So initially when they had a problem and if this car was to be repaired, they sent us the data by email. We told them what to do based on the data. And this has been today sophisticated at much higher level, which I will tell you later. And we can even tell today the owner, when he goes to the car will speak to him and says, please don't use the car today because this is the problem in the car. Because already the system has been sophisticated to the extent that the central system gets news from all the cars that what is happening, what is the status, and then feeds back in case there is a problem or there is likelihood of a problem. So when you go into the car can speak to you and tell you, yes, please get this thing done up, etc., etc. Next. Yes. Now when we were testing the cars, we had to charge the car. Now 8 hours it took charging, and then you run for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, again 8 hours. So I said, this is no way, we must have a quick charging system. So we developed a very quick charging system so that we could charge the car in half an hour or 1 hour and run it. That was one way of doing the testing very fast. Then we worked out another system. We ran the car in a circle, and now this was based on my first invention of the cycle. Remember I talked to you about cycle. So we took a wire from the car and put it in the center, and there was the charging. So while the car was going round and round, because of this lead, it was being charged automatically. So that was another way of testing, because we didn't have to wait for charging. Next. Now, when we started on making electric cars, we discovered that 50% to 70% of the electric car is going to be electronics. And like in computers, whatever we start today is going to go very fast and move differently. So we must be able to have a system where when an innovation is done, it can be effectively used. So we made the car in a modular system. That means same car could use same motor or a different motor if a better motor is available. Similarly, if a better charger is available. Similarly, if a better EMS is available. So, whether it was an EMS or a battery charger or a controller or a motor or a battery, and it is true today, for example, we have lead iron, lead acid batteries and lithium ion batteries. Now, lithium ion battery is 5 times stronger, and same car can use both the batteries. Prices are different, ranges are different, but it can be used. So, it is modular in a way that you can take a module 1, put another module like in computers. So, but we designed the car right in the beginning in such a way that we accommodated expecting that there is likely to be change anytime happening. We have, for example, 11 EMSs so far, from the first one which we created till now, because it has been improving. So this modular system has been very effective. This is one of the ways of combining automotive with electronics. Next. And if you have been to a car factory, assemblies are a big problem. You have chains and this and that. We couldn't afford it, and we were not making such large quantities. So I said, okay, why don't we put the wheels first and roll the car? So our assembly line cost is less than 1% of the normal assembly line cost of a car factory, practically only keeping. Then second thing we had a problem was we were making cars left-hand drive, right-hand drive. We were offering 2000 colors, air-conditioned, non-air-conditioned, and all kind of things. In Norway, the cars have to be very special. They have to be tested for minus 40 degrees. The cables are different. So every car had to be different. So we had to design an assembly line that every car could be different. Yet in sub-assemblies it could come through, whether it is color or it is air-conditioned or it's the right hand, left hand. And this we did very successfully by designing in an innovative manner sub-assemblies in such a way that we knew where the changes are. And today if you see the assembly line, the cost is only in storage areas, less than 1% of a normal assembly line. We've written here, next, this is the new factory which is coming up for 30,000 cars, and it's all solar heated and everything. We didn't want to put a lot of pressure on the electric vehicle company, because as it is they had a lot of work to do in designing and testing. So we made a first decision that no components will be made by Reva Electric Car Company. They will buy everything, and or they will be made by associate companies but not by them. So we had a lot of problems in developing. For example, charger was a very heart of the problem. We found one of the best charger manufacturers in America. We tied up with him, but it was the Maini materials movement we tied up and financed and made this thing. So there's a new set of people who are helping directly. Similarly, we did development of EMS in-house. In-house means MMM did it, and we tied up with a local R&D company do it. Vacuum forming of body panels was a very big problem. We didn't know what is vacuum forming. Nobody knew in the country what is vacuum forming of engineering goods. So we said what to do. We can't import them because they are so huge. A project will become. I said you start, we will work out. We started off. We had an engineer for 6 months from America, was retired, who knew about vacuum forming. another engineer who was also retired for 3 months from Germany. By that time, our own boys learnt everything, and they became so good in making vacuum forming after a year that GE came to us for vacuum forming, their components in India. Tata's came to us, Toyota came to us. So last year, we have separated the company into a separate full-fledged company because they are doing so much of business. Because they are so much better than the rest in India in vacuum forming. Yet when we started, we didn't know ABC of vacuum forming. One of the major things of innovation is, if you have to do something, start. But you will never, if you don't start, you will learn on the way. Then dealing with major suppliers was a very big problem, because major suppliers supplied to people 50,000 pieces a day, 10,000 pieces a day. We wanted 200 pieces a year, 500 pieces a year. So it didn't work. So I decided to call all the major people whom I knew and had a dinner party. I told them that, look, this is not for gains, this is for the prestige of this country. We want to be your partners because we have taken up this challenge. We couldn't have taken if we didn't take you for granted. So I took you for granted, knowing that you will join hands with me. It worked very wonderful. I mean, from Coimbatore, the company which makes the panel came forward first and said, Mr. Maini, don't worry, I won't even charge you for the jigs and fixtures. He supplied us. And we've been continuously in touch with them, and I think exhorting them for doing this for the country worked very well indeed. Next. We'll have to press the button now. Now, having made the car in India, we thought small car, very cheap to run, everybody will buy in India who is buying a scooter. But we had judged very wrongly. An Indian buys a car for status. He said, a small car. Who is Maini? Never made a car, doesn't know the spelling of car. When General Motors and others have not made, Honda has not made, Tatas have not made, who the hell is this little fellow? And with new technology, गाड़ी को आग लग जाएगी तो क्या होगा? So everybody praised, very nice, very nice. Nobody was buying the cars. So we had a problem because we had misjudged the market totally, 100%. And government had agreed to give help and given in 97, 98. But when the car was made in 2001, they would do the help also. So we said, okay, what shall we do? So I said, okay, the problem has a solution. People are not accepting. Let's sell them in London. Because if it's sell in London, then everybody will say, bhai, London mein bik rahi hai. So fortunately, some 3 Londoners came, all highly qualified, none of them involved in cars, but wanted to have something to do with India. And they appreciated the idea very much. They drove the car, they found it was much better than the Danish car. And they said, Mr. Maini, we want to tie up with you. I said, nothing like it. Took us 2 years to get the certification, road certification for the whole of Europe. And we started selling cars in London. Now, then at that time I said, why not in Japan also? Because Indians, if they say the car is selling in London and Japan, then at least acceptability will be there, whether they buy it or not. So let's break that barrier. So we even sold cars in Japan. I think there are about 100 cars running in Japan. It's a very tough market, you know, with Suzuki and everybody. The Japanese are very difficult people. But in London we have a lot of cars. In Europe we have a lot of cars today. Now, the Londoners thought of a very indigenous idea. because the number of cars sold were very small. They said, how can we sell them through advertising? So no showroom. They have no showroom. You go on the internet and you buy the car on the internet. They started like this in 2003 and they did very well. And we are following the similar model in a more elaborate manner for our next model from next year. We are working on it. So in India also we will be selling, you can walk into a showroom practically, you can change the color of the car, you can change whatever you want by buttons. You can sit in the car and drive it around and see how it feels, and then you can order the car on the net. This is the model which is coming out in December. Next. No. Yes, thank you. Now, the bug in me, India has to be ahead of others all the time. So there was 2005 World Electric Vehicle Conference in Monaco. Everybody was going to display electric cars. So I rang up to Dilip Chhabria. He told me, sir, nobody is making good electric cars. They are not designed because मैंने कहा किसी के पास पैसा नहीं है भाई, तो आपको पैसा कौन देगा? पर ऐसा करते हैं, आप स्टाइल को हम इनोवेट करेंगे और गाड़ी मोनाको भेजेंगे दोनों इकट्ठे मिलके फ्रॉम कार फ्रॉम इंडिया एंड आई एम श्योर वी विल विन. He said, हाँ बिल्कुल, I agree with you. Then I got out of the Institute of Science. They have Encore, the new computer, they had made very cheap computer. I told him the same. I said, look, we think we can introduce your computer and get all the data which has not been available so far and make a unique car from India with Indian technologies and display it in Monaco. So three of us got together. Within 4 months we produced this car. It was doing 120 kilometers per hour range, 100 kilometer range, and it had MP3 music, internet, email, navigation, everything. No key, just press some buttons, etc. And you know, we won the Mobility Award 2005 in Monaco. You see the next slide. There you see Mr. Sibal with Chetan and the Prime Minister of Monaco and the President of the Electric Vehicle Association. And we won the Monte Carlo Sustainable Mobility Award. That was probably the happiest day of my life. That against Mercedes, General Motors, Honda, all had displayed, we won the award. And I told Mr. Sibal, I said, Mr. Sibal, there is a good chance we will win the award. If I were you, I will go there. I was sick and couldn't go, and Mr. Sibal did go, and you can see him in there in the movie. He was at that time the technology minister, and we won the award. Next. Now we have learned a lot by looking at the cars. We concentrated in London and Bangalore, and of course 24 countries is the smattering, but we came to know what further can be done in the car. And we said, okay, now we should make a car which is at par with the other cars. No concessions for electric car. Electricity happens to be there. So far we've made a lot of concessions. So the new car which is coming, NXR, it's a 4-seater. It has a lot of, it can go at 100 kilometers. The range is 140 kilometers, which is sufficient for city driving, limited city driving. Now, because 80 kilometers was not sufficient. If you stay in Gurgaon and come to Delhi, Delhi walas have a problem. But 140 kilometers is good enough. It can be also 160 in the special cases, kind of a thing. So we made a car now. Now in this car, we have done a lot of changes. Those of you who read yesterday's Times of India there was a news about Ford having made a car with a lot of electronics in it. You can have your computer, you can have everything. This car can have everything also. Along with that, it will tell you every month how badly or how well you have been driving. That means and when were you wrong? You will get the whole sheet to yourself. And if something is wrong with your car, you will get in the morning already a knowledge that, okay, something is wrong with your car, this is wrong with your car. When can you get it rectified? Who can come and service you? So, you get information which is very customer friendly. Next. This is, I have already talked to you. Yes, another idea is you can preheat and pre-cool. The only very expensive cars you can do that today. You are sitting here, 42 degrees outside, you press the button, cool, the car will start cooling. By the time in 15 minutes you go, the temperature of your car is 25, you enter the car. You don't have to enter the car at 42 degrees. Similarly, in the cold weather, you can press the button on heat beforehand and your car will be heated. And you can also control the temperature, it will shut off after that. A monthly eco check I have already told you. I tell you how badly you are driving or how well you are driving. And if you are badly driving, what you need to do to improve your driving. Next. Now, one of the problems we faced was we tried our best to tell people that 30 kilometers when they are left, you will get a red line, then you will get a tinkle, then you will get a ring, etc. It doesn't work. अरे गाड़ी खड़ी हो जाए तो क्या करेंगे साहब? You can't reply to this question. Even in England, the same question. You explain everything to very intelligent people. Okay, when it stops, what the hell we should do? As if with a patrol, you will not stop the car when there is no petrol station. But they want to know here, what will we do? So we thought of a trick. Now what we have done is, we have kept 15 to 20 kilometers of range locked up in your car, in the new one. So when you SMS, gaadi khadi ho gayi hai, then we release that. You can't release it yourself. We release it. And this has been patented by us. We are the only company in the world doing this. So he said, "Achha, theek hai, chalo, jao, 20 kilometers mil gaya." And this has been liked by everybody very much. So if you don't care about your reserve and everything else, I talked to an Englishman who is our agent. I said, "Bhai, Dick, what is this happening? Can't you read it?" And he said, "Look, I am the owner of this. I am driving Reva every day. I have a Ferrari. I haven't read it. I have friends in Chelsea who will take a diesel car and put petrol in it." He said, "You must understand how dumb are the people who are using the car. So you have to apply your schemes to these things." So when we learnt all these things, that's when we said we should do this. Incidentally, Chetan was deadly against this because he's too intelligent to think what's required. But our marketing man, he said, "Saab ye chahiye, aisa chahiye." And I must tell you, it's really in September 2009, when we told in Frankfurt about this, everybody appreciated it highly. Next. Why is it finished? This is the new car we have made. This, I think, is going to be the new concept of sports cars. Two-seater sports cars. 2014 we'll bring it out. So I thought since we have designed it and shown it, I'd like to show you the developments. This is done by Dilip Chabadiya, the design. Next, I think are same photographs. Well, I have concluded. Most important thing is the culture you need to create of innovation. People talking about all the time. You know, you sleep through with culture and all that. Well, I know Chetan was making planes when he was 7 years old, and so the result I can see. You know, one of the things which we in India don't accept is a failure, and this is the great impediment to innovation. I was telling a story somewhere in the morning that when somebody asked Edison that this is you made the telephone or whatever in 1000 trial, he said, no, I went to a summit with 1000 steps. The last step was the top, but 990 steps, which were the failures, led me to the 1000th. The day we start accepting failure as a trial to success and not start condemning it, we would have passed a major hurdle to innovation. Next. Now I have summarized by saying innovation must be in the bloodstream of an organization. You have to, every organization will have different ways of doing it, but as long as it is in your bloodstream, it will work. Without that, it will not work. I have written in the end, I feel personally all the other things which you do to enhance are like zeros. But if one doesn't exist, zeros mean zeros. You need one, you need that bloodstream in the innovation in the bloodstream, that's like a 1. In the end I have written. Then you can add, make it 10, 100, 1000, 10,000. But if you go on adding zeros but you don't have 1, all zeros are zeros. This is my way of thinking. Now prosperity or expansion, and you are going through adversity or reduction, because you have problems, more problems in these areas, then it leads to innovation. Companies can ask their employees to spend say 10-20% of the time only on innovations. I know when it's very difficult to do this, because people will do nothing 90% of the time, and you have to find ways and means how to start making them use this innovation, because the giving time is the first step, not the last step. You have to find out how effectively they are using, how to cultivate ways and means of telling stories, promoting, how to do it, various stages. But this will help. Suitable rewards will also help. Next, I think it's the last one. Now, large companies have innovative brands. And they start using titles like Invented for Life, Imagination at Work, various things. This is a starting point. That then they start writing what is invented for life. Bosch will write and explain and use this as a way of collecting people on innovation. And another company will leap ahead, like we are saying, value added always. We discuss this. So you take a topic, any one of them, which is your tagline, which is relating to innovation, and most of the companies have done it. Next. I have given some examples. Next. Finished? Yes, thank you. There are some cities, they say Bangalore is very innovative, only in the last 30 years. But cities like Ludhiana, Coimbatore, Surat have been always innovative. You feel, if you go to that city and you go to their industrial area, you can feel innovation there. Everywhere you see something is happening. I have been going to Ludhiana, especially in the 60s and 70s. Anything I wanted, special purpose machine, I'll go and order there. I'll explain to them. 90% of the time, 2-3 people will get together and make it. Three years ago, I felt that how to promote some innovation, and I started a concept of design for life contest. This was the first contest we had, where we collaborated with NID, National Institute of Design, and I said, you know, if you see in India, in your own families, you may see, or friends, a lot of people, especially old ones, fall in the bathrooms, break their hips, and have a lot of problems because bathrooms are not safe. So one of the ideas I said was design an accident-free bathroom. If you fall down, you don't hurt yourself, but there are handles and other things, etc. And prepare a kit for existing bathrooms for the middle class families so that you can make it safe. Second idea was, you know, nobody uses crash helmets, wants to use crash helmets on a scooter. They make rules and other things. A lot of accidents take place and they are hurt because, what is the reason? The reason is inconvenient. It's ugly. So I said, please design a helmet, doesn't matter how much it costs. It should be climate controlled. In summer it should be cooling your head, in winter it should be heating your head. It should be stylish so that the ladies, when they wear it, they want to wear it as it's part of their accessory, like a ornament, not a something dumped. And that still is the idea. And third one was a bicycle generator for the villages, which we now designed because we didn't get a design. You run a bicycle, it can generate batteries. We have a bicycle made, 48 batteries, each can light 2 lamps for 3 hours, can be charged in 8 hours. So in a village it's very good, you can run it. Now the response from this, although I had given a lakh of rupees as first prize, was so absurd. I was not part of the selection committee. I had a separate selection committee. They didn't want to give any prize. They said, it's so poor, Mr. Maini. I said, no, you give it, dash it, give some prize, consolation prize or something. Now, this experiment did not take off as well as I was expecting. Now, there is a new director of NID, whom I know very well. I talked to him, he said, Mr. Maini, please try again. This time I will help you. I am going to try it once again. But this time I am going to include some other companies who can advertise for us free and things like that. Maybe HT can join us. And because I think there are a large number, I have nearly 100 of them written down, where the innovation can help the day-to-day activity, either make it better or make it safe. Gentlemen, any questions? You are welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to a brief question and answer round, I would request you all to give a great hand of applause for this excellent presentation by Dr. Maini. Thank you. So, would anybody like to go first? I mean, for any queries or info? Since I'll kind of, since I've been listening to your presentation and based on our interaction in the morning, one thing that I'd like to ask you is, how important are the concepts of patent, to a flourishing culture of innovation? Because as you probably know, the CSIR has always said that we are India's largest patent holder, but we see very little of their actual produce on the field. Do you think we need a lot of patents?
It's very important. It's so important. We consider, first of all, we in India don't consider it is important. The patent lawyers are not almost available in India. We have in the Reva company, we have a director who is in charge of this innovations and patents. And every board meeting, there is a first day discussion only on this whole day, second day is a board meeting half day. And I can tell you, it's as difficult to do things in India on patents as important it is. There is a lack of infrastructure, there is a lack of importance. Whatever people say it, even our patent people don't move. It's very difficult, but it is very important. So I am afraid somehow we have to do it. We are doing our best. When it is very difficult and very important, you put 10 times more effort than you normally do to make it move. That's what we are doing. And I think it's very important.
Sure. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Maini? Yes.
So what do you think of the state of,
Please. Hold on, bring the mic a little closer.
what do you think of the state of innovation from the country coming out? How does it compare on a global level, and are we on the right track?
How does it compare with?
On the global level, in terms of, especially in the field of technology, are we matching the kind of innovations that are coming out from other countries?
Our industry is not oriented to innovation, I am afraid, first of all. You see, for example, I will give you one good example. You take motorcycles or scooters. Next to China, now we are the largest. At one time we were the largest. Each one of these companies are flourishingly doing business. Yet none of them have brought out any suitable designs. They were used to getting designs from Japan. Japan never made an electric scooter, but China made. China made a scooter, electric scooter, because they pinched the technology from America. This chap who was running the Chrysler, what's his name, very famous man? Lee Iacocca. Lee Iacocca had the concept of making cycles, electric cycles. So he developed a motor and other things in China for these things. So they had this technology and they converted them into scooters. Now, China started making scooters maybe 7 years ago. First year they made 5,000, second year they made 1 million, third year they made 5 million scooters. India today, each one of the Indian companies are much bigger than the Chinese company. One day's earnings of Bajaj were enough to support the R&D to do this work. One day's earning, not 350 days earning. Yet they didn't do it, knowing very well tomorrow it's going to happen. So we are not the industrialists are businessmen. They are not innovators in India by and large. And the small people who are innovators, because they are innovators for survival, because they have to survive. That's why they are innovators, because they will not survive otherwise. They have to make two ends meet. So the rich people, who can really create the right kind of atmosphere, they are not interested. I have talked to all of them personally, lot of them. They may talk whatever, but in the heart of heart, they are not interested. You see what innovations they have done. I mean, I will not quote some of the people, but they have developed some products, and collaborators have said, no, you should not bring them out because it will harm us. Because of relationship, they have stopped the work. It's very well known in the market. I will not tell the names, but this is the kind of status. I mean, I am ashamed of it. That's all I can say. So if innovation is coming through in this country, it's in spite of this. And more innovation is coming in IT than any other area, because there you got the youngsters going there with brains, and they are doing a lot of work. But in the rest of the industry, I'm afraid the encouragement is zero.
Thank you, Dr. Maini. We have time for just one more question. Does anybody want to take a shot? Okay, so I have one final question. So you've spoken exhaustively about the processes that you've got in your industries. So do you think there are some mantras that can be incorporated at what goes on in Reva and in your other industries to an essentially media company such as HT Media Limited to spur innovation?
I think it's possible, but I think you can't discuss this in a forum like this. I had written a few things for HT which I will discuss with you. Now it's too short time, but I think it's possible. I think the end result is more important, which I have said, that people should think of innovation as a means of happiness. You relate money to happiness, which is wrong, because money is not always giving you happiness. So once you want to promote certain things in your own mind, I have found the best way to do that is to relate to happiness. If you want to do hard work, relate it to happiness. If you want to create quality, relate to happiness. If you want to create innovation, relate to happiness. Because we all want to be happy in life. So if your mind start thinking and relating things which you want to promote internally, and you start relating it to happiness, you will find temperamentally you want to do that thing. So one of the best ways to do anything you want to do, if you want to do it and you have decided that you want to do it, then you have to relate it to happiness. And a habit pattern has to be done. So if you are spending 1 hour, 2 hours on innovations, you would not know first time what to do. So don't spend alone. Spend in a group together so that you can chit chat and talk about it, what others have done. And slowly you will develop. So, but the real mantra which I will say is, it should be in your bloodstream. And one way of getting it in the bloodstream is by thinking that innovation will give me happiness.
So thank you very much, sir, for sharing these valuable insights.
I have left some literature with Shamila. If any one of you wants it, either you can get my secretary's email and write to her. She will send it across to you, because I think you must make an effort before you get it. Or you can ask her and she will make a photocopy. There is a lot of literature which ways and means and things like this. And I have brought it and given it to her.
Excellent. We'll certainly follow up on that, sir. So, as a gesture of our thanks for sharing these valuable insights with us, sir, I'd like to call upon the editor, HT, Mr. Sanjay Narayan, to kindly give away this memento to Dr. Maini.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sanjay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached to the concluding portion of our of this extremely innovative and creative gathering. So, we break for lunch now, and we can take any questions offline. Doctor would be really happy to, talk to you. Thank you all for coming.
If you think of a question afterwards and don't want to ask in front of people, send me an email. You get a reply from me.